2020 really was quite the year for real estate in the country. Now, March hit and everything seemed to have ground to a halt. There were very few sales, places were getting locked down, and real estate equities were in the gutter. Everybody predicted initially that this was going to be a huge slowdown for the real estate economy. But for most markets, that couldn't have been further from the truth. You look at a lot of statistics, and much of the country has seen a boom in real estate as our home has been redefined, our work habits and restrictions have been redefined, and because of that, people moved. People moved to places that they hadn't considered before. People moved to places that they were no longer constrained to because of work or commute requirements. And that really changed things. People didn't necessarily want to be in crowded cities as much. New York, perfect example. However, the majority of the country has done very well. So how has Boston done? How did Boston do? Well, Boston proper did not do so well. You would have looked and seen the headlines and thought real estate's booming everywhere. But if you looked closer, if you looked into Boston proper, you'd have realized that things were not moving along so quickly. It's not necessarily the case that prices were down. Some people didn't get the appreciation that they thought they were going to get. And properties didn't move as quickly. Properties weren't listed as much. They sat on the market. There was a lot of question marks. We had a large body of people who might have purchased, say, a 2-bed in the South End as a part of that life stage, take that million, 1.5 million, and try to buy something in the suburbs. Boston suburbs, very hot. So again, it goes to show that real estate is hyper local. You have to pay attention to the specific neighborhoods and somewhat disregard the big headlines that seem to make splashes and waves and are appealing because of their intensity. It's a consideration, and typically in a election year, real estate activity is subdued anyways. And what we saw was a combination of real estate being subdued, people deciding to live outside of the city, in addition to the country and the city going back into lockdown for November, December. All of those events actually led to a pretty slow real estate market in Boston proper for 2020. Now, what does this mean for 2021? There were a lot of people that were sitting on the sidelines. A lot of buyers came in 2020 during the spring market, just voraciously going after properties. However, that didn't carry enough momentum to consider 2020 as a whole in Boston proper as a growth year. Now, this is okay. This happens. This is the natural cycle of real estate, especially given external macro factors. 2021, what are we looking at? We're now a month and a half in. We don't have enough inventory. We're seeing this across the board. All of the forums that I'm a part of, the interagent networks, a lot of ISOs in search of everything from ultra luxury to small condos to investment properties, you name it. There are more agents searching for properties than there are properties being listed. It seems like the sellers have decided maybe we won't be as active listing. There's definitely some trepidation in the markets on the seller side, trying to decide, are there enough people out there that if I don't have to sell, should I put the property on the market right now? Are showing conditions going to be affecting the number of people who come through the door, which ultimately can lead to the number of offers that you field? So it's going to be an interesting year. Very quickly, it went from a small window of opportunity on the buy side, November, December, maybe a little bit of October in 2020. I'm back to sending handwritten notes to houses to get in touch with sellers, potential sellers. So it'll be interesting to see how the spring plays out. The spring market is typically very active in Boston, and we're starting to see more people come back into the marketplace. More sellers, more buyers. I'm optimistic. There's always opportunity in the market. And if you think long term, these waves, these inevitable cycles, ebbs and flows, tend to all get averaged out. So stay tuned with us and let's see how 2021 pans out.